So, looking at Revelation chapter 17, and the woman that rides the beast, Mystery Babylon the Great. And I told you how that the word church, the English word for church, has its source in Circe. Actually means a circus. A circus. And this is how Circe made her money. You might liken it a bit, if you recall, the fairy tale of Hansel and Gretel, lost in the woods, leaving the breadcrumbs that the birds ate so that they couldn't find their way out of the forest, but they come upon the gingerbread house, where the old woman lives there, the witch who captures them, and she's feeding them, trying to fatten them up. And of course, at the end, when they finally took the old woman and they shoved her in the stove and she dies, and all the gingerbread people that were all the other children captured by the old woman in the woods came back to life. And this is exactly what a church is doing. It's going to be holding you captive. It's going to mess with your mind and get you to worship this false image of the Christ. A false image. And we can go and see this more in the New Testament. The last time we looked at Romans chapter 1 and saw how Paul said, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and they changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man. Well, they also goes on to say that they did this to birds, four-footed beasts, creeping things. And I don't know whether most of you realize it or not, but there have been many books written on this subject of all the other pagan sun deities, just like the pagan sun deity that we have in our Gospels, known as Jesus Christ. And it might throw you, but you start reading and start realizing that all these other pagan gods taught the same thing that Jesus taught. They were all, or many of them, had virgin births, did miracles, raised the dead, healed the sick, preached like no one had ever spoken before, that they were great orators, and that they died, and on the third day they were raised from the dead, and they ascended into heaven, and someday they're going to come back and redeem all their followers. Well, Justin Martyr and other early church fathers said that the devil had counterfeited the real Christ ahead of time, counterfeited the real story of Jesus in advance. And that's how they tried to explain the many similarities between the stories of all the other pagan sun gods and the story of Jesus Christ in the Gospels. It doesn't take long until you realize that they are all the same. They are all false images of God. As we go further into our New Testament, we're told, even by Paul himself, that Jesus Christ is the actual image of God. And then we can get into Revelation, and we'll see another image. 2 Corinthians 4, in whom the God of this world, see, we have Satan here involved again, the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. So once again, we see that it is Satan that is, with God's permission, deceiving people with this image. I'd like to get into Revelation now in chapter 13, and we see here a beast that has died by the wound of a sword. Well, did not Jesus do that too? Was he not wounded? Oh, maybe not with a sword, maybe a lance, but another sharp implement of war. And then we're told that he overcame that he did indeed live. Well, in Revelation 13, this is telling us about this image of a beast that was wounded by the sword, and he did live. And in Revelation 13:15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and the image of the beast that should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, and rich and poor, and free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their heads, that no man might buy or sell save he has the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Well, this is something that happened in actual church history, is that after the Council of Nicaea, that there were many laws passed, and if you were not a member of the Roman Church, the state church, then you could not conduct business. It made it very difficult to survive in the empire unless you became a member of the state church, the Roman Catholic Church, and worshipped the image that they were putting out there, which is the image in our four Gospels, this image of Jesus, the Messiah, the substitute God who is going to come, and he's going to die in your place. That's why he is called an AntiChrist. He is a substitute Messiah. He's going to die in your place. That even though you're a sinner and you deserve this death, that he took it upon himself to become your sin, and that he is going to die for you. And they say, in fact, he did, and that he went down into hell and he preached to the spirits that were captive down there, and then he arose again, and then he ascended into heaven, sits at the right hand of God, and that he is someday going to come back and reclaim his throne. That's what the image of Jesus in the Gospels is going to do. This is what the book of Revelation is telling us. This is the delusion that Paul was talking about in 2 Thessalonians, that you have chosen to believe because you loved not the truth. The Christian faith is simply not based on the truth.